Hi friends! According to my 58 pages of notes on the Eggpire, the last time I checked in with the goings-on of the Dream SMP was June 2nd, and I missed a lot of the vegan plot before that, so let's see what we missed, shall we? Here's every plot point on the Dream SMP since Dream was imprisoned. Abridged. Minus all the Eggpire plots because I already did all that. Tommy gets stuck in prison with Dream, so Dream kills Tommy, and everyone on the server mourns. Oh, wait, he's back! Dream revived him, but now he has PTSD, and Jack stole his hotel. Tommy plans to avenge himself and kill Dream, so he goes through exposure therapy to prepare himself and face his fears by visiting Logstedshire, Aird's museum recreation of the final control room, and locking himself in his own copy of Dream's prison cell. 2 days later, Tommy uses an invisibility potion to sneak into Dream's cell behind Ghostbur. However, Sam spots Tommy's axe before the lava falls and makes Tommy take the bridge back. Dream then kills Ghostbur and Wilbur reappears at his resurrection shrine. When she hears of Wilbur's resurrection, Nikki promises that she won't let Wilbur hurt her again. Connor hosts a house party at Glatt's place. Glatt then takes everyone hostage, but it turns out just to be a spa day. In the in-between, Carl finds many versions of himself and a bunch of notes telling him not to stray from the path, and then finds a hidden one under a tree telling him not to trust the castle and to find the portal. Puffy finds an abandoned ship and realizes that it's hers. She assumes that she was shipwrecked and that's how she ended up on the SMP, but doesn't remember her past at all before that. Carl becomes the cameraman for the Subian Emperor Porcus and his gladiator fights, but is executed because he forgot to take off the lens cap to film. Carl is sent to the in-between where several books remind him to stick to the path and that he will regret leaving the in-between. Carl enters the portal to the other side. Sam kills Ponk once and cuts off his arm for stealing 11 keycards to the prison, and Ponk tells Sam that the prison has corrupted him. Ponk and Foolish then have a falling out, so Ponk lives in a cave for a little while before him and Foolish mend their friendship. 8 months later, Ponk tries to talk to Sam to rebuild their friendship, but Sam says that he would take Ponk's other arm if he needed to. Ponk accuses Sam of letting the prison get in the way of all his relationships. Tubbo and Jack discover that one of the nukes is missing from their lab in Snowchester, and they assume that it has been stolen. And as of January 25th, 2022, the nuke has not been found yet. Oh my gosh, it's a nuke! It's been missing for almost a year now! Fundy wakes up in the desert with old destroyed builds from Lesamburg, such as the Khmar van. Every time he tries to sleep to escape, he wakes back up in the same desert. Books inform him that he suffers from insomnia within his dreams, but that they might predict the future. He is also warned not to join an unspecified him. He tries to sleep again, but wakes to a cloaked figure chasing him. He sleeps finally, and the screen goes black before showing Quackity's face and the sounds of a casino. 2 months later, Fundy wakes up in a mesa. This time he finds Quackity there. Quackity shows him the Khmar van and tells him that all of this is gone and doesn't matter, and that Fundy is the same and will one day just be dust. Quackity offers for him to change that in Las Nevadas. Fundy then wakes up back in his forest to find Quackity at his door. George lucid dreams about Lore Man and Lore Woman, who turn out to be his parents. They hoped that he would become the king of Lore, but he slept through everything. Lore Man then hands George a sword named Lore, and has George kill him with the promise to take his title with responsibility from now on and to not sleep through any more events. George then wakes up with the sword still in his inventory. On January 27th, George fights Techno and Dream and kills them both, but not before he loses one life to Dream. George then goes around blowing up most of the builds on the server. He also tries to kill Dream XD and fails at first, but eventually succeeds. However, all of these events turn out to have just been a dream, so it's unknown if George's death was canon or not. Throughout the beginning of April, several broken up messages popped up throughout 4 of Tubbo's dreams. The messages appeared to be between 2 voices, with one telling him to go to the north and one telling him to stay away. Since April 11th, no more messages have appeared and Tubbo has not acknowledged them at all. Ranboo hears Enderman noises while he talks to Foolish, and questionable lessons appear on his screen. Ranboo doesn't know what the text is, but worries that Dream has something to do with it. He then asks Sam to be put in the prison, but states that he can't explain why he deserves to be there. He leaves wishing he never did anything wrong and that he could forget it. Ranboo finds a stronghold and says he feels a pull to it. He plans to do experiments near it and hope to learn more about his Enderwalk. The next day, he tries to trigger his Enderwalk near the portal using water, but runs away claiming that it's too dangerous. Lesamburg is a territory conflict mainly between Bad and Foolish. It goes on for 5 months, but has no real conclusion and just kind of fades out. Basically, Bad built a tower next to Foolish's summer home and demands that Foolish pays a toll. They argue over ownership of the land many times. Bad then claims more land. Tubbo tries to claim Lesamburg once. Puffy then builds a sandcastle next to Lesamburg, and Ponk sues both Bad and Puffy for their builds being so close to his supreme fridge and destroying part of it. Eventually, all parties just abandon Lesamburg, and Bad and Foolish settled their differences by trading player heads before Foolish removes it completely. Since Tommy died, 4 members were added to the Dream SMP: Michael McChill, Aaron, Tina Kitten, and Boomer NA. Michael tries to mine into the prison to free Dream, but Sam stops him, stating he doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. Michael then reveals that it is his dream to rescue Dream. Over radio, Michael explains that he lives in isolation by choice. He gives his coordinates and offers listeners to come and find Serenity, which is what he calls his base. In his isolation, Michael has tried to figure out the history of Lesamburg, the ghosts, and Dream's imprisonment, but every time he asks someone about it, he never gets a straight answer. Michael talks over his radio again about his isolation and wonders if he should leave or stay in his bunker. I know. I said I wasn't going to talk about the Eggpire anymore, but there's one more thing that's happened since my videos. Sam and Tommy plan to move the egg to the bank, but they can't blow it up or mine it without taking any damage still, so they're forced to leave it. Boomer and his hat Froggy Tingle both feel sensations that lead them places. While Boomer follows a sensation, Sam narrates that there once was a boy born of water and nature who was looking for his family. Boomer then finds Sam in a secret reading room. They discuss how Sam has multiple bodies of himself all over the Dream SMP. Later, Boomer meets Hannah and they agree that they feel familiar to each other even though they have never met before. Glat asks Quackity to revive him using the necromancy book, so Quackity convinces Sam to let him visit Dream with a diamond sword and axe to try and get the book from him. But Dream no longer has the physical book, just the knowledge that was in it. Quackity threatens to come back every day and torture Dream until he gets the book. Quackity then goes and destroys El Rapids, the country he once shared with Carl, George, and Sapnap. Quackity has kept up his promise of torturing Dream. He then confesses to George that he's upset that George, Carl, and Sapnap made Kinoko Kingdom without him. The episode flashes back to before the Lesamburg election, where Wilbur tells Quackity that to change things, you can't just see the good in people, you need to fight for power. In the present day, Quackity drops a note at Wilbur's grave telling him that he was right all along. Quackity forces Dream to write a note to Techno asking him to visit. He then invites Foolish to join Las Nevadas before he finds Charlie Slimecicle in his restaurant. Charlie tries to convince Quackity that he is a human, not a slime, and tells him about all the things he has heard in the restaurant. Quackity then decides that he can use Charlie as a spy. The episode finishes by flashing back to after the Red Banquet, where Quackity blows up Purple's UFO, telling him that his legacy is gone, so he should build a new legacy in Las Nevadas. Quackity offers for Fundy to join Las Nevadas, but tells him that he needs to forget about the past. Quackity then teaches Charlie how to gamble, and Charlie becomes in debt with the house, so Quackity offers to let him pay it off by spying on the purple guy. Foolish and Fundy sign citizenship contracts and join Las Nevadas. Quackity tells Techno that Dream wants him to visit and mentions a favor, but when he visits Dream, Sam traps Techno in with him. Techno and Dream then decide to try and dig out of prison even with the mining fatigue because it'll only take 2 weeks of constant digging. That's so easy! Wilbur and Tommy ask to join Las Nevadas, but Quackity denies Wilbur because he is unpredictable and has a history. So, Wilbur declares a new nation, Paradise, in the forest next to Las Nevadas. Quackity then offers to let Tommy join Las Nevadas, but he decides to stay with Wilbur. Tubbo builds a watchtower next to Las Nevadas to keep an eye on things there. He disguises the tower as a cookie outpost. Fundy, Charlie, and Quackity grief Tubbo's watchtower. Later, Purple spots Charlie spying on him. They go to Las Nevadas, and Quackity invites him to join, apologizing for trying so hard to get his attention, and offers that Purple can join without signing the citizenship contract. Quackity plans to build walls to establish Las Nevadas' border because Tubbo's outpost is looking like a military base. Tubbo states that the Las Nevadas borders weren't clear, so he didn't know that the land his outpost is on was part of Las Nevadas, but he claims that he has no intention of attacking. Wilbur and Ranboo make a burger van in Paradise to compete with Quackity's Las Nevadas restaurant. Quackity then hires Tubbo to manage the restaurant, and Wilbur hides his frustration. Wilbur has Ranboo set up TNT around the casino and the Space Needle. Ranboo asks for reassurance that the TNT will never go off, but Wilbur doesn't answer. Meanwhile, Tubbo apologizes to Quackity about how he acted about the outpost and says that he is happy to be part of Las Nevadas. Quackity threatens to kill Techno to get Dream to reveal the revival book. He brings out a pickaxe to kill Techno just as Techno did in their duel. Techno then disappears. Quackity and Sam frantically search the prison for Techno, but then find Dream is missing as well. Sam later finds Dream hiding underneath the toilet in the main cell and agrees not to tell Quackity that Dream is still in jail. Meanwhile, Techno was teleported back to the Syndicate meeting room using the stasis chamber, and Phil apologizes, saying that he thought Techno wanted to be teleported back after 3 months, not 3 days. Techno then shows Phil 4 books labeled Quackity, Sam, Dream, and Information. He follows coordinates in the information book to the mountain where he and Dream first met to find a chest with 26 sets of blueprints and 1 book. Meanwhile, Quackity starts preparing for war in Las Nevadas out of the fear that Dream will come for him, not knowing that Dream didn't actually escape, and has Foolish create a war bunker under the Las Nevadas sign in case Dream decides to have another doomsday. For the 3 months before Techno escaped prison, Quackity had been teaching Charlie how to behave like a human and run Las Nevadas. His final lesson for Charlie is that legacy is all you leave behind in this world. Meanwhile, Purple eavesdrops on them, saying that the UFO explosion is not something that could be forgiven. 2 days before Techno escaped prison, Sapnap and Quackity argue over Kindacoral Kingdom and Las Nevadas, both stating that they built these places for all of them, meaning Quackity, Sapnap, Carl, and George, to share. When Sapnap brings Quackity to Kindacoral Kingdom, Carl accuses Quackity of murdering him in the explosion they used to frame Eric. Quackity shouts about how alone he is and that he's glad they didn't build a country together. He thanks Sapnap for trying to fix things and welcomes him to Las Nevadas, but states that Carl is not worth it. On the day Techno escaped, Purple trapped Quackity and Charlie over a pit of lava, demanding that Quackity give him the resurrection book, not knowing that Quackity didn't have it. They battle, and Purple pushes Charlie into the lava. Charlie thanks Quackity for showing him how to be human and dies, while Purple escapes. Weeks later, Slime is dormant and unresponsive in a hole while Quackity tries to recover him. Quackity finds a book of gibberish in his chest and hopes that Charlie wrote it in his dormant state. Foolish and Quackity decipher the word legacy in the book, and Quackity returns to Slime's hole to find him gone. He leaves Slime a note promising that he will fulfill their legacy. Techno sees Sam bring Ranboo into the prison, so the next day, Techno tells Phil and Nikki that Ranboo has been captured and that they are breaking in today. He breaks into the prison through a point where the mining fatigue doesn't reach and uses fire-resistant potions to get to Dream. They set off the alarm and use blueprints to get to the other cells to free Connor and Ranboo. Meanwhile, Sam finds Sapnap, Puns, Aaron, and Michael and tells them Dream is escaping. They head for the shore with Tommy, Nikki, and Jack to wait for Dream to emerge. When Techno, Dream, Ranboo, and Connor escape, a battle starts on the shore. Sam hands Ranboo something and Ranboo starts taking off his armor. As Dream runs off, Sam kills Ranboo. The group escapes into the Nether, and when they arrive at Techno's house, Dream makes a run for it. When Nikki returns, the group mourns Ranboo and Connor joins the Syndicate. Techno sees an image of Michael and goes to speak to Tubbo, only to find out that Michael has gone missing. Meanwhile, Puns meets up with Dream to give him supplies, revealing that he's been working with Dream this whole time. Dream sets off to collect the Axe of Peace and return it to Techno, but in Lockstitchshire, Dream finds Tommy and threatens to kill and revive Tommy over and over again before running off. Tommy builds up yellow and black walls reminiscent of Lesamburg around his base to protect him from Dream. The ghost of Ranboo, named Boo, appears and gives everyone bread and states that he is much less stressed and can remember everything now. Boo tells Tommy that he was in prison because Sam knew what he had done, but Boo can't recall what he did. Boo also says that Sam is holding Michael hostage and that he did lose his other 2 lives before, but he doesn't remember how. Yeah, Boo definitely remembers everything. 5 days before the prison break, Aunt asks for the 28th off of prison duty. Later that day, Sam kidnaps Michael from Snowchester. 4 days before the prison break, Sam took Ranboo to the prison without giving a reason why. Ranboo says that even though he asked to be put in prison at one point, he was doing just fine now and didn't need to go, but Sam doesn't listen. After the jailbreak, Sam stays by Dream's cell in case Dream forgets to reset his spawn and reappears. Sam realizes that the prison was not needed and that no one tried to stop Dream. He leaves, saying he was set free when Dream was. In the present day, Sam blames Aunt and Bad separately for the jailbreak, claiming that Ant still should have gotten on the server even though he took the day off, and that Bad was just incompetent. Bad and Ant confront Sam about wrongfully imprisoning Ranboo and letting people into Dream's cell, and they all argue over who should take responsibility. Foolish starts building a Dream XD statue, but doesn't really know why he's doing it. Dream XD then appears to tell Foolish that he's building the statue to spread the word of God, and that in exchange for building the statue, Foolish can have one unspecified godly power. Foolish tries to spread the word of God by making the Dream XD Club, which H-Bomb, Tina, Corpse, Hannah, Michael, and Bat all join. Foolish decides to find a place where he can be safe from Dream XD and plans to potentially overthrow him. Don't know how he plans to overthrow the literal god of the server, but I guess that's for him to figure out. Foolish completes the statue, and Dream XD makes Foolish immortal, so every time he dies, a totem pops up instead for a limited amount of times. Dream XD also tells Foolish that he dropped 2 books in the realm a millennium ago, and only one has been found, and that the second book may contain the power of death. On January 14th, 2022, Dream released a trailer depicting him and Puns talking about how they can test if the revival book actually works, making it appear as if this conversation happened before Dream was imprisoned. Puns and Dream decide to test it on Vicstar and Laserbeam since no one on the SMP will notice that they're missing, and after killing them 3 times, the revival book brings them back. Scenes also show Ranboo and Dream with TNT exploding around them, and Bad giving Ranboo a map. Aerith, Tubbo, and Techno confront Sam about kidnapping Michael. After the group finds Michael, they contemplate killing Sam before deciding to lock him up in Pandora's vault. After they leave, Dream arrives and mocks Sam, deciding that he will now be the warden. Dream wonders if Sam will like the prison now that the roles are reversed. Also on January 29th, Manitree joins the server. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that I've been gone so long, but I promise I have a lot of fun things planned for the future, so you should definitely subscribe to see what's coming up. Bye!